Right.
Mhm.
Already recording. All right.
Yep.
All right. Look at y'all coming on in. Welcome, everybody. FYI, as you all are coming in, just rules of the game. Rules of the game. There's no games here. We don't play games. Thank you, Robin. I like it too. I am a good egg because my hat says so. It says good egg. See? The good egg. All right. Chat. That's where the questions come. Chat. Keep them coming, keep them there. We may cover it later in the webinar. So if we kind of skip over yours, we haven't forgotten you. We just may already cover it. And you can always reach out if you're one of our subscribers that has an integration, something's going wonky or something, you can always reach out to support at smartchurchsolutions.com. We are monitoring that too. But hit us up on chat. How is everybody? Is everybody learning lots today?
There we go. There's the email.
All right. Hey, Jonathan.
Oh, we have our guest speaker.
All right.
Hi, Nathan. Hi, Lizzie.
Hey, how are you, John?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Is it just the three of us, or?
Nope. Everybody's coming in.
Mhm.
We're giving a chance for people to log in. We had a short break between
Got
the
it.
previous one and this one.
Mhm.
Got it.
So,
Yeah, this is a quick turnaround.
Got
I'm
it.
sure people needed to take a bio break.
Got it. Lizzie, great to that's a lot of info. Lizzie, great to meet you. I guess I can do whatever. Lee told me I was just giving a brief introduction. Is that correct?
Oh, that's fine. Here, I can give you a brief introduction. Okay, everybody, John over here, he is from Berivo. Berivo, we are incredibly blessed to have because they have partnered with us so well, and they're about door integrations, and I think a little bit more, security cameras, stuff like that. They can work with existing controls. They can layer on top, which means you don't have to just gut everything and start over, which is also nice. So if you have any questions about door access controls, whether it works with your existing equipment or not, we can definitely shoot you John's email. He would love to talk to you, and he can get you all the pricing. But basically, because we can send schedules to Berivo, they love us, we love them. We partnered a lot, and it's just been a great partnership. So you want to add anything specific, John? Go for it.
Well, that's a real challenge, Lizzie, to add anything after that wonderful intro and all of these wonderful comments on the chat that are making my day. I know I've seen some. Thank you, everyone, for the welcome, Lizzie. Thank you so much for the kind introduction. I just will say a couple words, and Nathan, great to see you again. But yeah, I would echo that. So we've partnered with Smart Church for probably north of, I think, 1.5 to 2 years at this point, and our partnership is growing closer and closer and closer. So as Lizzie mentioned, we do view ourselves as the leaders in cloud-based access control, and we also do have a hosted video surveillance component to what we do. We certainly have a lot of great competition. What we bring to the marketplace is that we've been doing this for 20 years. So before the cloud was widely adopted in IT, much less physical security, we were doing that. So we built a very robust solution, 50,000 accounts around the world, 25 million credentialed users, defined as somebody who has a credential to get through an access point. And then our product and really our business has been enhanced via our partnership with Smart Church and our integration with eSPACE. So the Smart Church team integrated eSPACE. And the way I would summarize that, and Lizzie and Nathan, if you have anything to correct and or add to what I'm going to say, is as one of your colleagues, or our colleagues, Lee Cool, calls it, we refer to it as mission impossible. So essentially, if you have an event that's taking place on a Monday night from 7 to 9 o'clock in room 30, and there's 3 or 4 doors that have to open during that time, during the course of that event, an outside door, a door for the wing, another door, and the actual door to the room, you go into eSPACE and you do that programming within eSPACE along with the HVAC component that they have, and it saves an awful lot of time, on top of what Berivo does as a foundation. So we have one church in Georgia. We have a case study on that particular church, and he is saving 8 hours a week in programming time just, by layering eSPACE on top of Brevo. So it's been a terrific partnership. We take serving houses of worship very, very seriously, and just really excited to be here with you all today. Again, as Lizzie mentioned, there is also a video surveillance component of what we do. We have a partner called Eagle Eye Networks. They are the equivalent essentially of what we do on the video side, a cloud-based video system. Our systems are fully integrated. So if you have an access event, if someone has come in at 5 o'clock and you think there was something suspicious about that event, you can pull the video that's associated with that event and really get the full picture of what's going on. There may be some sort of integration with eSPACE as well as it pertains to that. But that's really who we are. Again, take serving houses of worship very seriously. I learn every time I have the opportunity to work with the Smart Church team, mean that very sincerely. And just happy to be here with all of you. Happy to take any questions and take this conversation anywhere it goes. So Lizzie, Nathan, happy to add anything more to that. I haven't even reading these questions in the chat or these comments, but happy to take them or want to guide, whatever. Yeah.
I think one of the biggest things to confirm and reiterate for folks that are on this webinar is that if they have existing hardware, your system is as much as what we would call hardware agnostic as can be as far as the controls and being able to layer into existing equipment. And so if you all have existing hardware, make sure you contact Jonathan at Brevo to see if it can be incorporated into Brevo and the control system. Most of the hardware can be reutilized. You're just going to be swapping out or tying into the brain board or the brain part of the thing to add control. And that's correct. I said that correct, didn't I?
Absolutely, Nathan. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. And Ann has a great question, and Ann, we'll cover this during the session, but Jonathan, thank you for coming out, for your sponsorship and your work with this conference, but also the partnership. We thank you for that and your willingness there at Brevo to continue to dive deeper and make that integration tighter. So that's been a great benefit for those on the call who already have Brevo. And if everyone who's looking, who's saying you're going to need to do that again or check it again, yes, you need to do that. And Jonathan, we're giving out your email. Are you okay if they just email you direct?
Absolutely. Please email me directly. Love to hear from houses of worship, whether you go with Brevo or not. Love to hear from houses of worship, learn from all of you and see how we can best serve you. So yes, please email me. Get back to you, and depending on what your need is or what you want to evaluate, I will get you in touch with the right person at Brevo in order to facilitate that.
Awesome. All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate you stopping in.
Absolutely. So that's all you need from me for now, right? Okay.
Yes, sir.
You're good.
You're going to get bombarded with emails now, so have fun.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Yep.
All right.
Okay, so let's dive in here, because really, I know by the title, it might not be obvious to everybody what we're going to talk about today, but it's really the integrations that we have with, and there's already questions in them, but we're going to go over what digital signage, what other door companies, which there's only one other than Brevo, HVC, and kind of how those work, and then good troubleshooting steps that either you can take or we can take together as a team, how they work, get a basic understanding. We're not going to get really in the weeds on any of those integrations, but just so you understand what's available. And then of course, reach out, because before you add anything to your subscription on eSPACE, we would love to give you a demo. So even though we may not cover every single specific question you have right now, if you specifically want Brevo or specifically want a Pelican Wireless, we can give you a demo later with a salesperson and they can walk you through those specifics.
Yep.
Right. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that we can go ahead and get started. And so just starting off here, we just want this to be, about all the integrations that we have going on. There's actually going to be a little bit more just beyond what would essentially be secure space, info space, and cool space. And we'll get to what those mean and that lingo. We want to explain what an IoT is. I know people were already kind of asking that question. And then based off of all of this information, hopefully it helps you decide what you may want to look into next, what demo you want to, schedule. You want to schedule a door one and an HVAC one. We would love to go over both of those with you. So an IoT, we're really just talking about how basically one software can talk to another software. That's why, like with our partnership with Barivo, you schedule an event in eSpace, it gets approved, and then it can automatically schedule whatever doors you've assigned to the spaces that are on that particular event. So, and we hope to expand this, and I can't really give you any type of timeline, but we've got HVAC, doors, digital signage, some lighting depending on what system it's on, like a BACnet system or something that is on a Jace. But there's going to be more. So like in next year, we might have a whole lot more than just these right here that you see on the screen.
Yeah, keep in mind, everyone, while we may not have it yet, the company, Smart Church, we are committed to exploring any partnerships. We are not exclusive in that regard. And really, if you have a specific vendor or specific company you want us to look at, you can help us out a lot with that. Find the right contacts so we can get to the right people to explore that further. Because again, the whole goal is how do we improve efficiency and how do we become better facility stewards? Integration obviously makes a huge deal. So we'd love to hear if we've got something that's out there that we don't know about. Let us know, please.
So here's like the visual map, because just to help people understand like what links to what. And we did add floor plan because it's such a big feature that we have now. So very excited about that. So that's here, but this is essentially what happens. Let's just say you have an event scheduler. It could create a work order, which is kind of the bonus part that we're going to go over. Schedule your HVAC, schedule digital signage, schedule your doors. And then from work order, we've got two big things. We've got Vehicle Pro and actually Asset Pro, I think is off to the side, and then floor plan again. And verbiage wise, this is what we call it. So secure space is doors, info space is digital signage, cool space is HVAC. So all of those are actually nested within facility space is the module that you would have access to inside of your eSpace account. And the great part about floor plan, which you guys, if you joined the webinars, if you talked to Ben at all, or seen the articles, you can not just see your events, you can create events from the spaces on floor plan with an event scheduler. You can create work orders from looking at those spaces on floor plan as well. And of course, it all comes down to the why. And I've seen a couple of different people post this in different sessions already, but like, why would we do this? What is the total cost? Well, really in the end, we're trying to save cost. So Nathan, I think you're the best one probably to explain this because you're the one who did the case study. So go for it.
So, and we're in the process of updating, and I can tell you right now, costs have not gone down since we did this in 2020. Surprise, inflation has done what it does, and it's inflated. But back then, 2020, national average for square foot at churches being spent cost utilities about $1.38. From a low of 80 cents to a high of $1.74. Custodial costs, you can see $1.34 per square foot, $1.44 for maintenance. All of these costs add up. And then when you start figuring in time away, you figure how many staff you have, which most everyone is short-staffed and underfunded and doesn't have enough time. All of these have that cost. And if you're running around the building, setting thermostats or opening doors, or even changing out, I hate to say it, it hurts me a little bit, but if you're changing out a bulletin board, that takes time, and that's time you don't have. So it's adding to the overall cost of what it does to run your facility, and it's a sunk cost that there's no return on necessarily. Whereas if you invest and take the platform to the level where it's actually running the doors for you, and it's running the signage for you, and it's running the HVAC for you, you're saving money because you let the system do what it does, so that the things that only a person can do, that's what we can focus on.
That's a very key statement. Yeah, so this kind of continues that, but this is, ideally you'd have one full-time equivalent person for every 35,000 square feet, one for just maintenance, one just for cleaning And the case study that Nathan did, we found most churches and probably schools. I used to work with schools a lot in my previous job, so I can attest to that. You know, they're understaffed. They're staffing half that. So you're trying to handle twice that square footage with, you know, less people. So if we can use some tools, and here's our little analogy here, but you know, as tools progress, we can do more. I'm sure we're all very excited that we don't just have a phone with a giant cord and that we're not carrying around a phone that's the size of a shoe. They're small, they can fit in your pocket. They do so much now. Now we've got this fancy thing called Chat GPT, and that is how I say it with the French accent because it rolls off the tongue better. It's a little trick there. So like that, we want to just advance and progress forward with, hey, it's not just a paper calendar. It's not just that it's online. Well, now it's online. And when events get approved, they actually do something. All the things that have to be done anyways, that can be done automatically, like scheduling doors, HVC, and digital signage. So now we're going to jump into kind of what an overview of each of those is.
Hey,
So
real quick, let me interject here and share something. For those of you who have Event Scheduler, an integration, an Internet of Things that we've had and the software's had for a very long time is the ability to put integrate your calendar, your public calendar on your website, where you put a container on there and you put the feed, which means you can have a calendar that's updated in real time, and you can also sync things to your own personal calendar, Google and whatnot. But that is a very simple integration, but that is IoT. And so it's taking what Lizzie's about to go in is now how do you take that to the next level? So if you're thinking, oh, I've never seen IoT, you have. And just that's where it starts. We've integrated, we can integrate with calendars and show events in real time, cancellations, so on and so forth. Now this is the next logical step.
And the last session talked a little bit about the public calendar, and I was in the chat a little bit trying to send that knowledge base article out, but go look those up because we've got basically a knowledge base article, hopefully on every feature that like walks you through step by step with screenshots, because that's our goal. So you can find knowledge base articles for anything that we're about to show. But this is a basic overview of for HVAC, that event would be approved because that's how most CHMS systems require the event to be before it like leaves or does anything externally. And then if you've mapped on the facility space side, that other module that you would have, what spaces are assigned to what HVAC units or thermostats, then eSPACE knows what to do with it. And it's going to do one of two things. And this is the main difference that we kind of wanted to get across, because I think most people think, well, eSPACE, regardless of what HVAC I have, is just going to force a schedule to be sent through the internet. That's only true if we're doing that through an API, which really only happens for thermostats. So if you've got a building automation system that uses a JACE or it speaks BACnet, we're not pushing the schedule out. We're actually putting it in. That's why we created this. It's basically going to an ICS feed. And then there is an extra part that you can purchase and program. Your controls programmer can program it for you if you want to actually pull those schedules over. And then ultimately it schedules your HVAC. So just to show again that main difference of, and I've got the examples here, Pelican or InTouch thermostats, the two thermostat companies we work with, we can push it because they have an API versus most building automation systems, they don't. So what's happening is a different process, and we can see this feed. And so we know on the eSPACE side, hey, the event is there, eSPACE is doing its job, and then it's just up to either that driver or that XML parser to pull those events over for your units to then pick up.
Yeah, and to answer Nathan, answer your question. Yeah, in this, these are two different things. The JACE is this ICS feed, and that is a piece of software that's actually it's a driver that's installed on your JACE. Your N4, N4AX up to, I don't know the level because I just don't know what driver number we're up to now, but that's software. And then whoever programs your JACE would then take those schedules that we create and map them appropriately via the software. The BACnet system, that is a physical license key plus software. And it's in essence doing the same thing. It's in essence taking our ICS feed, our XML data, and converting it to a BACnet discoverable point. So when you set up your units in the HVAC side, it pulls it over and says, okay, this unit that I saw here via BACnet, I can tell it when it's supposed to be on and when it's supposed to be off. So yeah, those are two different things, but again, it's to illustrate we can talk with Jace or we can talk with BACnets.
Mhm.
The Jace is one of the longest running integrations when it comes to HVAC control with eSPACE. It's one of the most robust and solid. Easiest to do if you've got a programmer who understands how to program Jaces.
Yep. And then so here are some screenshots again, just to flip it. So there was the visual, and then here's what it looks like within eSPACE. So event scheduler, your event's going to be approved. You're going to map in the other module, facility space. You know, this is a list of units. This would be a list of or thermostats and a list of spaces. So it knows automatically if this is the room that was scheduled, that event is approved. Okay, this is the thermostat. I mean, they're going to send a schedule to, or this is the schedule that I'm going to make available for that driver or XML parser to pull over. And then what's great is for the thermostats and for the XML parser, the driver, you can see those events. Like you can see what we're pushing. And I know this is a small screenshot, but if you're inside of your facility space account, you expand for each of your thermostats, you can see the API logs to see if they were successful or not, to see, you know, what events were scheduled. You can look at that within your own account. And then similarly, you can find where that ICS feed is and actually see the event sitting there. And these are the first two things. If any ticket ever comes in and says, I don't think my thermostats or my units are getting their schedule, this is the very first troubleshooting step to take. And it's right in everybody's own eSPACE account.
Yep. So we've expanded what you can research on your own. Many times if you have an event that didn't kick off or doors, what we find a lot of times, and there's sometimes some technical issues, like speaking today, but we find that there's an extra ghost space in something, or there's an ampersand, and sometimes the integrations don't like ampersands. And if you don't know what that is, you're too young. That's okay.
It's the and symbol.
And so a lot of times we look through that and that's our initial troubleshooting. And sometimes an event, somebody upstates something and neglects to tell you, which kicks the event out of approved. And you understand that our integrations will only work with fully approved events, because we're not going to send signals to unlock your doors on something that got canceled or something that's not fully approved. Our system decides and says, if you're not sure, I'm not sending the information. So in addition to checking this stuff, we also check the history. Oh, wow, did somebody approve it late, or did it come out of a final approval or something?
So similar to the thermostats, it's going to be doors. It's still going to be sent through an API call, but it's still going to require for that event to be fully approved. And then you, of course, have to assign the spaces to doors, not HVC, but to doors inside a facility space so that it knows, oh, these are the doors that need scheduled. And it's a live send. So it's sending like every few minutes, refreshing every few minutes. And then you can see when those schedules actually got sent again in the log. If you go into your facility space account, and again, it's a small little blue triangle right next to the name of the door. But if you expand that, you will see the logs and the history. And again, it's one of the very first troubleshooting steps that we take to see what did we send, what was the response that we received back from Barivo or from S2. Was it successful or was it an error? And if it's an error, then we have to look into that. Why did they send us an error back? Why was it not successful? Were they doing an update? They have logs that they can give us. Barivo, again, has been tremendously helpful, their support and giving us that info quickly so that we can get to the root of a problem if there ever is one, which is rare, but when it happens, we've got the right tools. And I know somebody already asked about this, so here you go for digital signage. Really, this is, again, comes down to it's fully approved. You're going to create a digital signage display. And one of the most common questions there is, well, what type of displays can I create? There is a great knowledge base article that literally goes over all the display options with screenshots that will show you what it's going to look like. And you can preview any of those before you then take that URL that eSpace generates and put it into whatever device you want. And by whatever device you want, that's about what we mean. Literally any tablet or TV that's connected to Wi-Fi, connected to the internet, has a browser in it, you can put that URL in, and then it's going to display whatever that version of a digital signage that you created. And again, there's a lot of more great info about that in our knowledge base articles, if you ever need to reference that. So here we go. It's fully approved. You've created one of your display types over again in facility space. You take that URL, you put it in your device, and then it's going to display and it's going to update automatically. You can choose the refresh rate. You can choose how often it syncs and pulls in updated data. All of those are going to be settings inside of the different types of displays. And I know it's tiny text, so I'm just going to read it to you. We've got announcements only, lists, if you want like a list of events that rotate, or a room signage, or slides. So you can check all of those out again in that knowledge base article. Or if you want to schedule a demo, you can schedule a demo and we'll show it to you live. Then we've got our bonus one.
Oh, wait, go back.
What?
I know. So, and it actually ties in with Matthews. You're talking about digital signage. Can it work for emergency situations, bad weather or lockdown? Yes, you can actually have some of these, and you can do it pretty quick. We don't have like a push one button and it flashes on the screens, although there is a thing called post idea, and that would be a great idea to flesh out and have that for digital signage integrations for that very reason. But keep in mind, as long as you can put a URL on the device, you can do it. And so tablets can be now used as digital room signs. Affordable tablets, cheap tablets, TVs, most modern TVs can always do it. And so you can now really, if you take advantage of digital signage, because you can send children's events to the children's TVs, you can send youth events to the youth TVs, you can send general event information to general TVs throughout the campus. Again, it's an opportunity that most churches are already installing screens everywhere. And because you can have slides and slideshows and things that you can load up to here, I would encourage you to consider and take advantage. Again, it's a great way to say, hey, what's going on today? Or what room is this event in? And then when they ask you that question, you can just point to the TV behind them and say it's there. Because I always like pointing people to a sign that's right in front of their face that they didn't read. Sorry, but I digress. Thank you. Go ahead.
Well, then I'll add one more thing. So 2 of those signage display options that you'll see in the knowledge base articles will actually give an option if you want to let people schedule last minute events. So though they won't be able to schedule something in the future from that touch tablet, because it has to be touchable, obviously, for them to click on it and create the event, they can book a space if they see that it's empty. They can book it for an increments of like 15, 30, 45 minutes or an hour right there from the display. That's the option that you go with to then put inside of that digital display. Okay, so here's our bonus one. And again, we've had, I think, a couple different sessions that briefly touched on this, but you can, within Event Scheduler, of course, once the event is approved, choose if you want it to generate a work order. So I would obviously assume that you also have work order and asset management, but this is where that benefit of having both really comes into play, because an event, this is the most common use case, you want to automatically have it generate basically like a set of work order that gets assigned to an employee at the church who's an eSpace user, and then they can track their time if you want to put that on there, and then it gets checked off and it goes into the completed pile of work orders. So you can have it for the event in general or for every occurrence. It's then going to show up on the dashboard in work order and asset management. So that's a great integration there.
Yeah, and usually you've created an event category called event setup, typically in work order and asset management. And when you're setting it up on Event Scheduler, you can have those work orders appear before the event. You can set it up to come in early. So there's a lot of flexibility there. And if you're doing it at every occurrence for those multiple of those events, Bible study that occur every Wednesday over the course of the year, that's great. You get that reminder, you get that set up. And then if you have a singular change in setup, not that churches ever change the setup just for one event for one day. But if you did, because if you do a work order for every individual occurrence, you could have that new setup for that. If you didn't take advantage of schedules or things like that, you could have that come out for, well, hopefully you would take advantage of schedules, but I digress again. But you'll have it, your team will have it. And it's all about making sure everybody has the most up-to-date information at their fingertips.
Mm-hmm. And you can see the generated work orders on the work order tab within Event Scheduler. You'll also see it on your dashboard. If it doesn't get automatically assigned to a user, department, or external vendor by a routing rule, it's going to come into its own little grid that work orders from events on the work order side, and then an admin can personally assign it to either an internal user or department for someone then to assign to themselves or an external vendor. So you'll see it in both places, Event Scheduler and then work order and asset management. Okay, so this is a big thing because with these integrations, you know, security is with doors and HVAC. It's a big giant unit, costs a lot to run. And if something goes wrong, you know, we want to be able to support you. So Nathan and I decided we wanted to throw in just kind of like a reminder. You know, we've got two different types of support. If you want our free basic one, then you will get, you can reach out anytime you want to support at smartchurchsolutions.com. All of those, regardless if you like call and leave a voicemail or you email in, they do actually generate a ticket that gets assigned to a person. So I mean, not every company may not do that, but we do that. So it is actually a real human being that's reaching out to you, talking to you. It's assigned in our personal queue and we can see it. And then we get alerted every time that you respond. So for Plus customers, if you want more support, then you also get a scheduled callback, or we can do like a 15-minute Zoom call, which is my favorite, because then you can share your screen or I can share my screen, and then we can kind of walk through things visually together. So you also get live chat, but everybody has access to our knowledge base articles, and there's a ton of information there. So if you're just investigating at this point and you just don't know, or again, we kind of went over everything really briefly and quickly, go there because there's so much information, and the step-by-step instructions for how to set it up with the Brivo or how to set up Pelican Wireless are actually in our knowledge base, and you can go view them now, even if you don't already have that integration. So then the second thing that's on here is going to be troubleshooting. If it comes in, because every single slide that we just led up to said the event has to be fully approved, we need to know what event. Like if I get assigned the ticket, I have to know what event am I looking at? What was supposed to turn on the HVAC? What was supposed to trigger that door? So where's the event? When was it approved? What spaces were tied to it? Or for digital signage, which of those displays? Sometimes I log into somebody's account, they got 20 different displays. Which one are we talking about? Which one is not showing the event? So the more information that you can give us up front, if you give it to us up front, we start troubleshooting almost immediately. And then by the time we answer you back, it's usually to clarify something if we didn't get it originally, or we can say, hey, try this. So we can immediately start progressing there. So, and again, community space. I know Nathan just said post idea earlier, but community space in the feature request section is where you can post an idea. So, and in the feature request section, it's a voting system. We get so many requests, and it not just within community space, but within tickets, we get all kinds of feature requests all the time. And then we have so many things planned on our roadmap. If everybody loves floor plan took about a year to create. And there's so much more that we're still planning to add to it, and so much value added because we have that rolled out. So there's big things like that. There's smaller things that we've got already on there, but to help prioritize that amongst everybody's requests, please go to community space, please put in a feature request, upvote it by clicking the up arrow next to it so that we can see what does our customer base want. And again, cannot say this enough. All the knowledge-based articles, though I am slightly biased because I've edited a ton of them, we want those to be a good place where you guys can get help.
Kathleen's, now's the time for questions. We've got a few minutes, we've got about 5 minutes before we got to kick off, or less. I think we're 5 minutes. But Kathleen's asked if you've got several rooms on the same HVAC unit, how can you balance the temp in the rooms? We don't have that ability if it's one unit controlling multiple rooms. we would say, if you have the ability to put room sensors and automatic dampers for each space that could maybe do that within the system that's controlling it, or get a test and balance done, or pay real close attention. Most systems have the ability to add external temperature sensors that you can then design to say, I want an average across all of these temperature sensors. That's one of the best ways to do it, because otherwise, yeah, you've got the thermostat on the one side and the unit turns on the other. And so now we're freezing out one room so we can get the other one in there. And yes, Pelican does have some of that. Pelican, you can add up to 8 different remote sensors to a thermostat, and literally tell it how you want to use them. Is it just monitoring, or are you going to average the temp, or use a remote thermostat to control the temperature and put the stat itself in the mechanical room so nobody can see it or mess with it. Not that church people like to mess with set points on thermostats and not change them back. But yes, you can do things like that. We're happy to go deeper on some of that too. And be on our Facebook group, you can ask those questions. We have several people that do that as well. What other questions do you have in the next 3.5 minutes? Anyone? Y'all are going to hit up and integrate everything now, right?
Well, schedule a demo first.
That too. Yeah. And by the way, if you are going to install a Jace or use the North system, the XML parser, feel free to, in fact, we encourage, connect us with the installer before. And so that way we can communicate and answer any of their questions they might have before they're actually out on site, so we can maximize their time with you. And if we can help answer questions before the installation, a lot of times that reduces any follow-up or support tickets. And so let's see, can we adjust the temp and time the ACs turn off or on? Yeah, you can. If you've integrated your HVAC, you can set a schedule. Remember, you can set a schedule, and as long as it's got the spaces on there, and you can have multiple spaces assigned to a thermostat. And so, yeah, you can set up a schedule to do that.
You can also set an override. I think that's one person is asking. You can do an override temp, and you can do an override start time and end time on the details tab of the event within Event Scheduler, or on when you see the event on your facility space dashboard. And that goes for HVAC and for doors, if you wanted to do an override for the doors as well. And the knowledge base articles will again go into those. What Pelican stats can be used? That's a great question. But sales at Pelican is going to be the best people to be able to answer that, because depending on if you've got multi-zones or RTUs or side discharge units or whatever, they can spec all of that out for you and help determine what's needed there. And then InfoSpace powering up devices, the device does have to be on. We're just, again, sending the events to the URL and it's picking it up and displaying it, but we can't like control the device and turn it on or off.
Yeah, and with Pelican, by the way, and some of InTouch, but Pelican for sure. Yes, pretty much every device they have, because we connect via the API. It's just to get the right equipment, talk to Pelican to make sure, because they can pretty much control anything, because they can flash the memory on a stat and make it control a pump if they need to, and for a startup on a chiller or boiler. So you can do all that.
Yeah. Another good thing to go over, I know we have 1 minute, is most of the schedules we send, they're actually an override. So if you want an internal schedule within your doors or your HVAC system for basic school or office hours, you can still do that, because we're just adding on top of that. But again, we can talk more about that in a demo.
Yeah, and Laurel, I think you're talking about, I think you use InTouch, if I remember right.
I think so.
And the InTouch app should be able to, change the thermostats again, because it'll set it up as an override. Same thing with Pelican, as Lizzie was just saying, we write to special events. When we write to a Jace, we write to override or special events, if you will, to all these other areas, so that you can have the native app or program run a basic stuff. The question earlier, how can you set up a nice calendar way for office? I personally would set up office hours and just assign all the spaces that need to be assigned for office hours. And that's how I would do that. And you've got office hours, then it's on the calendar. Boom, there you go.
Great questions. Thank you guys for joining.
Mhm.
All right.
So yeah, feel free to reach out to us. Bless you, Ann. I
Poor
totally get it.
Ann.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
But thank you all. Definitely reach out. If you're interested, if you want more information, if you need more stuff, that's what we're here for. Hit out, let us know, and we will help you figure out the best solution. Because quite frankly, we want you to integrate because we want you to be the best facility steward you can. All right.
All right. We're going to let you guys go get a break before the next session. We'll see you guys later.